Yo, what's up? Doug Cunnington here. This is the Keyword Research webinar. So we are getting started, hopefully on time. I hope that you can hear me. It looks like we have a handful of people on already. If you are in the chat, let me know where you're from. Just say hello. Let me know if you guys could hear me. If you could hear me, just say, yeah, I could hear you. I see we got Wesley on. We got Drifter, Gary, Adrian. We got Gary from down south in Alabama, close to my old home state in Georgia. Gary, whereabouts in South Alabama? I've driven through a couple times on the way to New Orleans. Let's see what's going on. Shannon, I'm always, I struggle with the names. So if I say your name wrong, I'm sorry. Shant. Okay, it sounds like people can hear me. Awesome. Gary's from Palm Coast, Florida. And Philip from the Bahamas. Alan from Missouri. We got Faisal from Bangladesh. Felipe from Brazil. Antonia from Bulgaria. All right, cool. And we got Jeannie from Hawaii. Awesome. Welcome back. And Wesley's in Clanton, Alabama. I don't think I've been through there. I'm sure it's warmer there than where I am. But it's a super nice day today. But it was like there was a little frost out there, just a touch. Lance is on. We got Kathy as well. And if you're joining up, thanks for hopping on here. We'll get started in a minute. This is the Keyword Research webinar. And it's funny, I was like getting stuff ready. I was getting the lighting just right in here. It's very bright, like right here, which is cool. For lighting, but I thought I closed the closet door because that's just kind of a mess. Actually, it's pretty clean back there. We have some visitors coming in town, which is why this session is a little bit early. I know Jeannie, woke up a little early just to be with us here. I have my in-laws coming in town in just a few hours, so like I'm in the guest room, so I'm gonna have to like remove the rest of my desk and things here and move the laptop out. But the closet's clear, and that's why it's open. So while people are hopping on, I see Fakwal from Bangladesh, John from San Antonio, and Ronnie from Bangladesh also. And thanks for joining, everybody. So I'm just going to close the closet door just because it's going to bug me now. So I'll be right back, and we'll get started in just a second on the Keyword Research webinar. So. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Much better. Cool. Awesome. That's good. Adrian says it's better if you do the sessions earlier. I'll keep it in mind, Adrian. Thanks for letting me know. All right, cool. By the way, if it's I know I recognize a lot of the names, so if it's the first time you're on one of these live sessions or webinars with me, let me know in the chat. And thanks for joining us today. By the way, I've actually gone ahead and scheduled several other webinars coming up for like the next 5 weeks or so. So this is like, it's good. I mean, I usually have some idea, and I have like a set of presentations that I know I can do that I continually refine over time. But I've actually scheduled them out, so I feel really good about that. A little stress lifted. So Philip is the first time on. Thanks for coming on. Alan, your first time. Kathy also. Really cool. Quick note, and basically, as far as like the tech side, if you don't see my video, if the sound goes out, if something goes wrong, try and refresh your stream. So Adam, try and refresh your stream. I think most people can hear me, I hope. And let me know in the chat too. So refresh first and then let everyone know in the chat, and other people will say, hey, I can see him, everything's cool, or not. And Antonio, it's your first time on. Felipe, first time, and Raul. Wow, a lot of new people, which is awesome. So thanks a lot for coming on today. And yes, thank you, Jeannie, for saying that to Adam about refreshing. I didn't even think about the fact that he can't hear me. He literally said, I can't hear you. And then I tried to talk to him. So, okay, cool. Again, this is the keyword research webinar. We will probably keep it pretty tight today. All right, we're going to keep it pretty tight since my in-laws are coming in town, and it's pretty clean in here, but I have to get some laundry out and do some other, just normal domestic things. I'll answer questions at the end, and I'll talk more about that in a second, but I'll definitely answer questions if you have them, but the main part will be at the end. Okay, I'm going to share this presentation right now, and let's get into it. So I'm Doug Cunnington from Niche Site Project. I think, at least a handful of you have been on these sessions before, and it's good to have the new folks on too. I've clarified that people can hear me. And again, I'm Doug Cunnington, founder of Niche Site Project. I'm doing more on YouTube now, so perhaps you found me that way as well. And that's my dog and I, the Beartooth Pass. He passed away a few months ago. We're still very sad about that, but that was from a couple years ago in the summer. Now that area is like covered with snow at this time of year. So here's the why should you listen to me section. I've been featured on a number of blogs in the past, guest posting on podcasts in various areas. So I have a specific area of expertise in like Amazon affiliate marketing and project management, and then in a broader sense, just internet marketing. So I have been doing this for a few years, and I was also featured on Social Triggers at one point. So I always put the timeline in, especially, for new people to understand that I've had ups and downs. This is a bit of a roller coaster ride overall. I had some great success like within the first year with Amazon affiliate sites, and then my site got penalized. So it's one of those classic stories where I was making, hundreds of dollars a day. It was fantastic. I thought I was going to quit my job. And then my site got penalized, and then it happened like 2 more times over the span of like 8 months or so. And then I changed my strategy as far as using gray hat backlinks, which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, gray hat means it's against the Google webmaster guidelines. So most of the time traffic comes from Google, and if you violate the guidelines and you get penalized, it's a bad thing. So basically, once I changed my approach, things got better and things are going well. In June, I sold a site, just an Amazon affiliate site, right? Not a huge one, nothing crazy, for $235,000. Next, just curious, when did you first hear about niche sites? And I know we have a wide range of people on the call, but just knowing like who's on and your experience level, that'll help me sort of guide the conversation and exactly what I present. So that's always helpful. Kathy says years ago. Asking these questions also gives me a time to take a sip of water. And by the way, Q&A is at the end, and you should have an option, although this interface changed a little bit, but this option to mark your chats as a question is helpful. It sort of highlights it for me. So if you could do that, you could ask questions throughout, but I'll probably come back to them at the end most of the time. And by the way, you could ask questions on anything in life. However, it's really helpful if it is pertinent to the topic that we're talking about today, which is keyword research, of course. Okay, and let's see. Al says he didn't learn about, you learned about niche sites years ago. Alan says learned about niche sites like on YouTube about a month ago. Adrian's beginner level. Drifter, you heard about him in 2011, 2012, but you didn't know much back then. And Adam talks about SPI, niche pursuits. That was exactly my route. So you've known about him like 2 or 3 years. And let's see, Jeannie mentions the Pat Flynn's niche site duels. That's cool. That's exact. I came in like in the second niche site duel in like 2013 exactly, and like signed up and like formed my first mastermind group with people out of that niche site duel and that whole membership site that he set up. And cool. So it looks like some people have been around for a while. John says 2 or 3 years with Spencer and Smart Passive Income. Paul says May 2017. And okay, so it looks like people generally know about sites, but some people are like brand new over the last couple months. So, okay, this, by the way, I focus on niche or authority sites, as some people call them. Those are basically equivalent. So it's just a branding thing. So don't worry about that. The sites that I have are quite large, hundreds of pages. But this session, the keyword research, like it applies to any type of content. So if you have like an e-commerce blog, or if you're doing, even keyword research on like YouTube or other platforms, like these ideas transfer over. You may have to use slightly different tools. You may have to tweak certain things, but basically this stuff, you could use it on any kind of site where it's indexed by Google. Okay. So, and we are covering niche sites today very specifically. It's kind of a long quote, but I'll read it out anyway. As to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man who grasps the principles can successfully select his or her own methods. And the man or woman who tries methods ignoring the principles is sure to have trouble. That's an Emerson quote. I think it's actually a different Emerson I learned, but we'll just say it's Ralph Waldo at this point. The thing is, I'm going to tell you some specific like tactics and methods to go through this, but be sure you understand like the underlying principles on like why we're doing certain things, because of course you can like recreate these methods and they'll get you so far. But like if you could take the principles and say like apply it somewhere else, kind of like I mentioned, let's say you're doing keyword research on Pinterest or something. If you could take these ideas and move it over to Pinterest, well, that's a whole other ball game where you can, combine some ideas and end up with a much better product than what I'm telling you now. You could do something like totally different. So just be sure you understand that. And these are just my methods. So some people do things totally differently. Theirs are fine too. Theirs are valid, and I'm sure they're doing a great job. Okay, we're going to cover 4 things today: types of keywords, keyword volumes, the target volumes, and the keyword golden ratio. Let me know if you haven't heard about the keyword golden ratio. Just interested if people are familiar, if everyone's familiar with it. Okay, there's 4 types of general keywords. You have your buy now type keywords, and these are like just before people are buying. I'm about to, buy a wireless mouse, and I'm like, where can I buy a wireless mouse? Like, I want to buy something like right now in the next few minutes. I just want to find a place to buy it. And these are usually kind of dominated by e-commerce, and they're not really the kind of keywords that I'm going to go for just in general, because I don't have an e-commerce site. I have these Amazon affiliate type sites. So these are, good as far as buying intent, but they're too far down the line. And generally Google ranks sites that are e-commerce where people can actually buy. The next type of keyword is sort of a product type keyword. And these are still pre-purchase, as you can imagine, but they're a little bit earlier in the buying cycle. So these are typically like, people researching a specific type of product, or they're trying to figure out which product to get, like an Apple mouse versus a trackpad or something. So maybe that's a bad example, but they want to buy something like in the near future, but they're not sure what to get. And these are the perfect ones. These are like the majority of the types of keywords that I go for, because they are it's a buyer intent, it's a product keyword, but they're not so far down the line that Google is ranking the specific like e-commerce shops. Informational keywords, these are like how to and the best way. These are sort of like value up front. you aren't like doing a product review or anything like that, people aren't really looking to like buy anything. They're looking for information on how to do something primarily. In our case, they're primarily looking to like figure out how to do something or see examples of, you know, products out in the wild doing things. And by the way, like I have this noted here, the vast majority of keywords online, they're informational. They are informational. Let's see. Next, we have general information, and Brian Dean at Backlinko, he calls these like tire kicker type keywords. And these are, you know, when people are just learning about something. So my wife, we've been watching The Office, the TV series. We watched all of it before, but we like went back to watch it again. It's been years. So she was like looking up the actors and the people on the show, and you know, she was just looking up information. So she was just learning, trying to find out like the background, what these people did before and stuff like that. So absolutely no buyer's intent, and it's just informational type keywords. And you know, I usually don't have those type of keywords on my site, maybe like 10% or so, but these are just really more general. Next is around keyword volume. So generally we're talking about local monthly searches. I'll abbreviate that often in this conversation with LMS. So these LMSs are like whatever like Google version you're using. For most of us, even if you're international, for most of us, this is going to be the US version or like the general version of Google, because there's just more search volume in that area. So most people do just work with the US version, even if they are, you know, in the UK, or, you know, I could list out a bunch of countries. So I'll just say, if you're in another country, you're probably still like going to need to do the keyword research, local monthly searches in the US. So these are just my sort of approaches to like the keyword volumes. So we'll call it like, and they're general, right? So I put specific numbers in here, but it's not like carved in stone. So we have very high, it's like over 9,000 searches, high 2,500 to 9,000, medium 720 to 2,500, and low from 2,500 to 720. And you have the ultra low and the long tails, which are less than 250. And I even put stuff in that has 0 searches per month. By the way, any kind of keyword volume that you see, even from Google in the keyword planner, those are all estimates. They're averages and they're estimates. So when you see these numbers like 0 search volume, it doesn't mean no one searches for it. It just means on average per month, less than 1 person searches for it. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't go for it. In fact, some great keywords that are profitable for me have 0 searches per month. So that's just an interesting fact. So obviously there's a big range here, which I guess I put that animated arrow in there to denote that. And then basically the higher the LMS, it takes longer to rank, it requires more links, and it's more competitive. And as you go down to these ultra long tails and the general long tails, you can rank them faster. You don't need as many links, and there's less competition. And there's a lot more of them. That's just how it works. So there are tons and tons and tons of these ultra low long tail keywords. Oftentimes, these are like long phrases and very specific. As far as target volumes, it all depends on your goals. In, you know, my course, 5-Figure Niche Site, we have like distinct volumes that you should go after, and you should, you know, put some others like longer term stuff in play. But we have to be realistic. And the point is, like, I was about to point, but the thing is, like, if you automatically go for like these high and very high search volumes, like, it's going to take more time, it's going to take more money. And if you're not an experienced marketer, you're not experienced with affiliate marketing, it's probably going to be hard, and you're probably going to quit. Just straight up, I'll tell you, you're probably going to quit if you try and go after something too big. That just happens, right? If you don't get some wins, if you don't get some momentum, you're going to quit, because like, you're going to put, 12, 18 months into something. Your family and friends are going to think you're crazy because you keep saying that it's going to work, but it doesn't ever pan out, and then you're going to eventually quit. But if you go after something smaller, that's good. You'll get some wins. People see that you're making money. You'll be more successful. You'll hone in on the things you're doing well. You'll do more of it. So just a tip from a general sense. You're probably better off going after some lower competition type keywords, lower volumes. Okay, target volumes. And here's where we get specific. And we have the same ranges here that I mentioned before. And basically you want to spend a lot of your time in this area, especially if you're starting a new site. Additionally, I find it profitable and a good idea to actually add these keywords, even if you already have a site that's established, because you can invest $20 to $40 in a single post of roughly, say, 1,000 words or so, and publish lots of them, dozens of these articles. And in general, you'll find that it has a positive ROI, which is our main goal. So $20 to $40 may sound expensive for an article, but if you're making money on the article, well, then it was a good investment and you're making money from it. So the good part, with this is you can go after these type keywords and not have to build backlinks. That's a whole other story for another day. So as noted here, it's time for me to have a water break. So again, if you do ask a question, be sure to note it as a question. Just it's easier for me to find them. Okay. So the keyword golden ratio is this, and I know several people have heard about it, but we'll talk about it a bit and go through an example. And this is like a really powerful concept. So if you're doing something else or you're not paying attention, you should pay attention now. This is really important. So the keyword golden ratio is the all entitled results, like the number of all entitled results divided by the local monthly searches, where the local monthly searches is less than 250. Okay? It needs to be less than 250. Don't forget about that. The reason why it needs to be at less than 250 is a sheer numbers game here. So the real goal is you want to go after keywords that have the ratio of 0.25 or less. When it's 0.25 or less, it means there's not as many people competing for it. And how do we know that? So the all in title tells us someone put those keywords in the title and they're intentionally trying to rank for that term in Google because it's in the title. So when you put the sheer numbers in there and you put in 250 and you work the math here, right? You work the math. You have 0.25 in 250. That's 65.2. All right. So that is a value that we can work with. And that means if you publish something and you're trying to rank for it, you should rank like in the top 50 or so in like a day. And if you think I'm crazy and you haven't tried it before, just try it. Do it for one article and then let me know what happens. So I get an email a week where someone is telling me that they've done this and like, here are the results and here's how they're ranking. And that means there are other people that are doing it that don't email me and tell me about it. So 250 is important. Here's the thing. People end up actually someone asked this the other day. They said, hey, I found a great term. It's a keyword golden ratio term and it gets 8,000 searches per month. So there's a problem there because that means there are 2,000 other pages like that you're competing with. Again, when we do the math, 0.25 of 8,000, like divide by 4, you end up with 2,000. So like it's too many other pages, but if it's 250, then you're only competing with 50 other pages. And if you write your content well, then you should be in good shape. Okay. Adrian says, that's a good question there on the keyword golden ratio. So I'll come back to those and we'll do a very quick, short demo. So you need to get the keyword volumes from a tool like Keyword Keg, although any tool is fine as long as, you know, they're pulling accurate data and you trust the data. So Keyword Keg is a great one to use. You can use it, I think you could use it free, like with some limited information. And there are, most tools have like some tiny bit of free information that you can get. All right, and the demo part is here. So we have a couple examples, and I think the volumes here change over time, right? So there's new data being inserted into like Google, and that's typically where these values are taken from. So we're just gonna look at these. So best electric shaver for bald head, which is very relevant for me. I don't use an electric shaver though, for anyone wondering. And then which electric shaver is best for sensitive skin? So we have a couple here, and we're not gonna belabor it, but you just take the volumes here. You can see I'm pulling the US volume, and these are the volumes per month. The other information here, I'm not even gonna go over. This is the important part for the exercise today. Okay, here we have the which electric shaver is best for sensitive skin. So you do an all-in title. This is what you type in, right? So if you haven't seen this command before, it's an advanced Google search command. And you type all-in title, it's all one word, colon, and then you put in your search phrase here. Do not put quotes. Don't put quotes in there. If you put quotes, then it's searching for that exact phrase in that order, literally a quote. But you don't want that. You want it to give you, you know, any combination of these words in the title. For this one, we see 4 results here, okay? So we see 4 results. And we see it's 10 searches per month. So that is 0.4 for our KGR ratio. So that's actually a little high. It doesn't fit our criteria. Okay, so it's a little high. But example 2, best electric shaver for a bald head. There are 26 results, and at the time I pulled this screenshot, there were 210 searches. Of course, when we look here, there's 260 as of today, right now. So this ratio is a little different. It's actually a little more favorable, and the ratio is 0.12. So that's really good. That is less than 0.25. So that's a good one. You should go after it. And again, same deal. You just put an all-in title and the search phrase with no quotes. You see what Google tells you here. That is how you use the keyword golden ratio in, like, that's just it's a very simple example. It took me probably 15 minutes to find these 2, and it can be challenging. A lot of people do, you know, ask, how can I find them easier? We have to practice. It does take practice. And then I also have a YouTube video, actually a few of them, where I'm just telling, like, here's how you can find keyword golden ratio terms a little easier. And I think I actually posted a recent post on Niche Site Project where, I mean, I have 3 videos on that page, and I shot them in the last couple of weeks. So they're very current, and it's like, here are some of the common questions and that sort of thing. Okay, so another little tip is to listen to Google. So if you put in one of these searches without the all entitled stuff, you just put it in the general search. If you go to the bottom of the page, you'll end up with related searches related to the term that you just put in. So at that point, you can get several others listed here. And what you can do, there's this information here with the search volumes. That's a free extension for Chrome. It's called Keywords Everywhere, and it helps you just find terms that have these, I guess, favorable search volumes is what I'm trying to say. So you can see really quickly, like 140 searches per month, that's less than 250, so we can go from there. But Skull Shaver, that's 3,600, that's too much. So just looking at these, you can like keep at like checking different ones and seeing the recommendations, and then you'll have like a good set of keywords. And this is an area where we have, 0 local monthly searches per month. And I'll talk about that in a second. I know, we had some questions about that. And quick note, so there's no pitch in this webinar, but I do want to give people a heads up. So just in general, you want to stop trading time for money. And niche sites, I think, are the best way to get started. So like the startup costs are low. Like you can start a site with like $200. And just as a quick note, there's a couple people that I want to tell you about, especially if you're new to the channel, new to niche sites. So this is my friend Rob. I was actually talking to him earlier this morning, like right before the call on Skype. And this is his 2016 earnings just from Amazon. So he made a lot of money outside of Amazon too, but $223,000, which is insane. So if you haven't watched a lot of the coaching videos with me and Rob, like I think we did 6 or 7 in 2015, 2014, 2015, and it's awesome. He has exceeded what I make on Amazon. He's doing awesome, and just really sharp guy, good friend of mine. Dave, probably seen a couple of videos on him too, so you should definitely check his stuff out. I think I have like 3 interviews with him about a year apart in, I think, for all of them. And he's doing awesome. He started making like, I don't know, $10 a month or something, and he's currently making like 5 to 6K per month, and it's like his full-time job. Like he still is a musician and like a music teacher, but he's doing very well. He's making more money than he was. He's doing awesome, and it's consistent, which is amazing. So as a quick note, I know a lot of folks are just getting started and other people are into niche sites, or at least the vocabulary and things that you should work on. Now, the mistake that people can work on, I think Adrian asked me this the other day, like not knowing what to work on. Here's the problem. There's like too much information. In fact, I give you too much information. I have so many videos on YouTube and have so much content on my website that you're probably like overwhelmed if you just read my stuff. But it turns out there's like hundreds of other people telling you stuff, and it's very confusing to understand what to work on. One of the other hard parts is like people will, I guess, provide you with a case study with an N of 1 where they like tried something and did it one time, and then they're telling you what to do. And that is a very difficult thing to deal with. I struggle with that myself just in other areas of marketing, but basically someone is like, hey, if you do this, you'll get this result. But not only have they only done it once, but they haven't been able to like recreate that in other places. So it's very confusing to know what to work on. The second mistake that people make is like picking a poor niche. So hopefully this keyword research exercise can help you find a niche that actually has keywords that are profitable, where your competition is, something you can work with, and it's not like all e-commerce pages. I know when I first started, I did really bad keyword research. I just didn't understand that. And number 3, the third big mistake is like not knowing how to get traffic. Of course, with the keyword golden ratio, you sort of circumvent that issue in that you don't have to like get backlinks and network and connect with other people in the niche as much. But not knowing how to get traffic is a big problem. I mean, people buy pre-made sites and then they come to me because they don't know how to get traffic. And the information that they get from their vendor is, to go try and buy links. By the way, those are the same links everyone else is going to try and buy. And when that happens, it's not a valuable link anymore because people are getting these same types of links. And if you could just buy your way out of this problem, then people would do it. But it's usually not that simple. So I will mention there's no pitch. You can't buy anything. But in about a month, my course 5-Figure Niche Site is going to come out again, and enrollment will be open. It hasn't been open for a while. I basically lock it down because I work with the students quite a bit. So there's a lot of like group sessions, there's a lot of email correspondence, and there's a lot of work that people have to do in the course. So I support them. So I just wanted to mention it here. So 5-Figure Niche Site is my course, and in about a month, you'll be able to buy it. Okay. It was created with the principles that I talked about and techniques and strategies that work, and not just for me. They worked for Rob, they worked for Dave, they work for other students that have been through the course and they're getting results. So let's get to the Q&A. All right. I see people are marking the questions here, which is much appreciated. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to go back to the beginning here. And I thought I saw one early on here. Okay. A lot of chat. Okay, Adrian, good question here. Will the keyword golden ratio work if the local monthly searches are 0? So the formula obviously falls apart. For the math geeks out there, you're dividing by 0, so you can't do that, right? But here's the deal. I go for terms with an LMS of 0. If you're just starting your site, I would recommend, maybe peppering in 10 to 20% with LMS of 0 if you have them available, right? The thing is, you should only go after an LMS of 0 if it's a Google auto-suggest or a recommended search. So you shouldn't just randomly pick terms that have like a local monthly search of 0. That's not super helpful. But if it's an auto-suggest, Google is literally telling you that people are searching for it. They're literally suggesting it. So those are fine to go for. As far as the number of all entitled results that you should cap it at, it depends. There's no right answer for this. And the reason why I say that is I haven't compiled my data. I haven't looked and researched exactly where there's a cutoff. And it depends on too many variables, right? The age of your site, the specific term, the other sites that are trying to rank for it. So we just don't know the inputs. Could I put together some formula that makes some sort of priority? Maybe, but it's not really worthwhile. So my answer to you, Adrian, is if you find a KGR term with an LMS of 0, which you found through an auto-suggest feature of Google, then I would say if it has less than about 50 all-entitled results, it's probably worth it to publish that article. Is it going to work all the time? No, it's not going to work all the time. But when it does, it's going to be impressive most of the time. Okay. So we got that one. Pankaj says, when I said keyword volume of very high to high to medium, are they exact or phrase? Exact. And the keyword volume in SEMrush versus Ahrefs, are they exact or phrase? I don't know. You'll need to check the documentation for either of those tools. I will mention that I find the keyword search volumes in SEMrush to be slightly inaccurate. but you may find them to be accurate. So, just for me, I don't use the keyword volume straight out of SEMrush. Drifter says, there's another thing about the keyword golden ratio. You were doing keyword research, and guess what? The KGR was different when you used an USA IP compared to your local results. Okay, I can believe that. So just be sure you're using an IP of like where your target searchers are coming from. So I haven't experimented with that because I'm located in the US, but I have heard like all Untitled results can vary. People send me some examples, and I don't know why, but the method in which I displayed, like, that seems to be working time and time again. Okay. So Jeannie says, in example 1, since you'd rank on page 1 from day 1, is it even worth it, even though it's only 10 local monthly searches? Okay, so one thing, you wouldn't necessarily rank on page 1 from day 1. There's a couple other variables in there. So, for example, if it happens to be a term that is dominated by like really big sites, I don't know, like the Wirecutter and like top 10 reviews and just like big sites like that, you may not rank on page 1 from day 1. It's possible, but it may not happen. And the real part of the question is it worth it even though it's 10 local monthly searches? Here's the thing. There are many other long tail keywords that are associated with that local monthly search term, with that search term, that are not listed. They are not taken into account, but they are searched for. So my example is, I think it's probably like 2 to 5% of the KGR terms that I find bring in way more traffic than what the local monthly search suggests. There's a term that I have that is, I think it's 0 local monthly searches. It's like blah, 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 under $350, right? So it's kind of an expensive product. 0 local monthly searches, but I get like 10 to 20 visitors per day on that. So it's like 300 plus visitors per month for a product that costs like $350 or less than $350. So the point is, there are long tail keywords that bring in traffic that are not accounted for, which you never know like which ones are going to be the home runs that you didn't expect, but they are out there. Like I said, I see it at like 2 to 5%. So it's hard to know. I don't know why, and I haven't done the digging. So, okay. Adrian says, so you find a good KGR, like the best electric shaver for bald head. Is that going to be your article title? Yeah, basically. You could put in like, what is the best electric shaver for a bald head? Something like that. You do want it to make sense for the reader. You don't want to have like awkward English or awkward phrasing. It should make sense to the reader. Jeannie says, if I find a long tail that has a 700 LMS, but only 10 all Untitled, I know it doesn't fit into 250, but is there a reason you shouldn't go after it? Nope, that's a good one. And the reality is, that's a very smart question. Here's the deal. So when I'm creating like the formula and I'm giving like the guidelines for it, the simpler I can make it, the better. So I could put like the 10 caveats, the deep stuff that I know, but it makes it more confusing. And I just try to make it less confusing. So yeah, you should go for it, Jeannie. That works. Adam says, can I apply 5-figure niche site to an existing site? Yes, absolutely, Adam. That is the best ROI. So there are a few examples I have. There is one that I could think of, Gabby. There's some information on this that you'll probably see later, Adam, but basically Gabby had a site that was making like $70 a month for about a year plus or so. So it was good, right? But not great. And I think she bought in October, about this time last year. And within, is crazy, within like 90, actually, I can't remember the exact number of days, so I won't quote it. In a short amount of time, she was able to like pull what she learned from the course, and she moved up to like $400 per month and like continued to grow. So pretty impressive, and you usually get a better ROI if you have stuff in place already, because then you can go and execute. Now, I will say, one of people approach me for coaching often, and they may say like, I have a site and it's making $200 a month. I'm not sure what to do. I need help growing it. And after a few questions, I don't coach most of the people that come to me, by the way. I realize they don't have a good foundation in like keyword research. They don't have a good foundation in like the foundational stuff. And they actually need the course because they need to correct things on their site and the fundamentals before they can grow. Obviously, you can't build on a foundation of sand. And that's what a lot of people come to me with. And that happens too with like pre-made sites. They were sold a site that had, 20,000 words. It was supposedly like a really good niche, and the potential is to make like $5,000 a month. But when I take a look at it, it's just not possible. Like the foundation is not solid, and you can't, scale that. You have to get the things right at the baseline level. You may need the baseline knowledge. And by the way, I'm not saying you don't have the baseline knowledge, but yeah, you can apply 5-figure niche site to an existing site. That's the best way to do it. John, would I recommend the course for someone who already has a site and is using your all entitled approach? It depends. And if you tell me your specific situation, John, I can tell you if it'll help you or not. When the materials and stuff, some of the marketing materials, when you get those in the next several weeks, it'll help you understand if it's a good fit or not. And by the way, like there's someone on the call who like joined the course. It wasn't a good fit, but no hard feelings. He or she asked for a refund. I gave a refund. So I have a 60-day policy, and basically I accept the risk. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. I don't take it personally. But we can look, John, to see if it's a good fit for you. It's not a good fit for everyone. John says, how about a keyword with a 500 LMS but 60 Google searches? What would you suggest? I don't follow exactly. I think maybe you mean 60 all entitled results. What would I suggest? Totally up to you. Depends on the term. I would look at other competition factors beyond the scope of the stuff today, but I would look at the other pages. And I mean, let's face it, what's the harm in trying it? It's a small investment to test one piece of content, and then you have a data point to make future decisions. So invest the 20 or 40 bucks on content and see what happens. Adrian says, on the course, am I going to take us through creating a dummy website? No, I don't do that. I lay out the fundamentals and the tasks to do, and then you're able to build a site from that. And yeah, I don't do a dummy site. Philip says, what are my go-to keyword research tool, both free and premium? I use Keyword CAG most of the time. It's actually one of the cheapest things you could get out there. Al says, when you're doing keyword research, how do you know you can rank for a particular research? Is KGR the only thing to look for? You should know it's not the only thing. You should look at the other pages that are ranking. You should look at like their domain authority and their backlink profile, the content on their page. There's a suite of things to look for, a host of things to look for. Mohammed says, only one question. Can I increase Google trust by posting a lot of informative content on my website? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what you mean by Google trust, like as a definition. it's like a made up term, I think. But if you post a lot of content on your website and you expect to like move up in the rankings, I wouldn't count on it. Adam says, exciting results. Your site's making about 1K a month, but it's been static for a while. You'll be looking out for the launch. Awesome. That's like a really good point. I mean, and I'll tell you, it could take, you know, a year, like 9 months to a year to hit that 1K mark from a fresh, brand new site. But then after that, like it's the difficulty to get from 1K a month to like 5K a month is about the same as 0 to 1,000. So it's kind of interesting, the sliding scale, but like if you got to $1,000 a month, like, you know, the stuff that you can do. And it's just a matter of like honing in on the specific areas that can like really provide leverage for you. Kathy asks, does local search refer to a geographic area? Yeah, generally. Adrian says, how can you track the positions of your rankings or the keywords? You should use a tool, and usually a good tool to use, like the cheapest one, is serplab.co.uk. I think you get like a couple hundred like keywords you could track for free. I pay like $8 a month, and it's like more keywords that I need to track. Philip says, how much value does buying expired domains with a good DA? It could be hugely valuable. If you buy a domain that has, you know, a great authority and a lot of backlinks to it, which support that authority, of course, then, I mean, you can essentially like skip the Google sandbox. But I will say that you kind of need to be an expert in purchasing domains. So, you know, it's not for a beginner, basically. And then, yeah, same question that Fuckrell asked: is an expired domain useful? Yes, in the right hands. So, but here's what you would really want to do. You would want to buy an existing blog that was like active. If you buy an expired domain, depending on how long it was expired, depending on a number of factors, it may or may not work. And you may spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a domain. So you kind of need to know what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. I don't recommend it in the course. If you are a domain flipper, or you have like experience buying domains from auctions or buying websites via auctions, then it's a viable strategy. But if you, I've mentioned this before, if you have to ask if an expired domain is useful, then you don't have the background knowledge to buy a domain and execute on it. So you shouldn't do it. There are other people that may be able to guide you in that area. One of my friends, Matt Diggity, does a lot in private blog networks, and he is, you know, a really smart gray hat SEO. He may be able to advise you some on stuff like that. Charles Float, another friend of mine, he is another gray hat SEO, and like they are more versed in that area of expired domains. So yeah, just in general, if you have to ask a question like, is it useful, then you don't know enough to execute on it, and it is probably a risky proposition for you. What other questions do we have? I think I made it through them, which is really cool. And next week, the session is going to be on, let me look at my trusty calendar here. We have SEO for niche sites. We have SEO for niche sites. So we're going to talk about an SEO plan for niche sites that works. It's going to be high level, right? I could put like a whole course together on like each one of the components. So it'll be like an overview of like how you should plan SEO. That's going to be next week. People that are watching the recording later, you can sign up too. So I'll probably post a link somewhere, but you know what? You can just go to Niche Site Project. You should be able to find the right material, the link, that is. Okay. Drifter asked, do I use PBNs for my sites? No. Adrian's out. See you later. Thanks for joining up. Kathy, thanks for joining. Antonia also. All right, appreciate it, everybody. I think we are done. That was all the questions that we had. So we'll just end it abruptly and quick. I'll go move my laundry and do other normal things that people do. Thanks, Philippe. Everybody have a great day. We'll catch you next time. Yep, this is going to be on YouTube at some point. I kind of am holding back the publishing schedule, but yeah, it'll be on YouTube at some point in the future. Everybody have a good one. Thanks for joining up today. Catch you later.